Please rise if you wish for the invocation and the pledge. Dear God, tonight we are grateful for our residents who are active in our community, becoming knowledgeable and involved in things that matter to them and help them contribute to the well-being of others. We think of those who have dedicated 8 Tuesday evenings to take part in our Citizens Academy, who we will celebrate at next month's regular council meeting. We think of individuals who plug in to cover many kinds of needs, like Sid Valine, who was honored this week by Congressman Mills for his volunteerism in governance, as shown by his involvement in VGMC on behalf of DeBary and previous service as stand-in council member, as well as his many activities in the community. We think of so many others who are making a difference in our parks and rec programs, our library, our food pantries, our arts programs. As a city, we have been blessed by these contributors. We are thankful. As we consider the matters before us this evening, grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding so we may make the best decisions for those who have entrusted us to represent them. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening is the regular City Council meeting for the month of May. City Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sell.
Here.
Councilmember Papalardo.
Here.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Chazet.
Here.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Here. Do we have any public participation for items not on the agenda?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Okay, thank you. First up is the approval of minutes for the regular City Council meeting of April 3, 2024, the City Council workshop for April 17, 2024, and the special City Council meeting for April 17, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as listed.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to this agenda before us? Seeing none, we will move on to the first item of new business. Item number 4, the applicant, KBC Development, Inc., would like to extend their preliminary plat and construction plan development order for the KBC Mixed Project.
Good evening, Stephen Bapp, Growth Management Director, City of DeBary. This is for a development order extension. The project location is along 1792 in front of the DeBary Golf and Country Club. It's highlighted in the 5-sided teal-shaped square. The general layout and site plan, this has been approved to have 4 commercial outparcels along 1792, related infrastructure, stormwater, and then also townhomes in the next row behind the commercial outparcels. Overall, it's located, as I showed in 2 slides previous, we have 17.37 acres total, 7.94 of which are commercial, and then there will be 55 townhome units approved already for this project. This project was overall, the development order was first issued by the city manager in the middle of 2020, but due to the pandemic of COVID-19, the development was extended to the time of 2023. Last year, about this time, the City Council granted a second extension for 360 days. They are here today seeking the similar 360-day extension. It still meets all the Land Development Code requirements, all the comprehensive plan requirements, and it is consistent with the processes we have for this project. Therefore, staff would recommend the City Council approve the extension request of the KBC Mixed Preliminary Plat and Construction Plan Development Order for an additional 360 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
Public participation.
Oh, is there any public participation?
No, ma'am, there is not.
Thank you. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
It's kind of a comment. It kind of has to do with land development code rewrite. I have appetite to see those extensions be permitted for longer periods of time. Is that something that we're still exploring?
Yes, we will have that in the new land development code.
Very good. I have no other questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
I do not have any questions.
I don't have any questions either, just a comment for anyone who might be watching. This is within the greater development of DeBerry Golf and Country Club as it goes back historically, and there was a cap on the number of residences, I believe, that were allowed under that master PUD. And so this particular plan does capture, in my view, the vision that the city has for this project, which is to have commercial on the front and to have a limited number of residents behind. And so while it has taken some time for this to go forward, I think it is in the city's interest to extend as requested, because this pattern of development was satisfactory when we reviewed it each previous time. So if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the extension request for the KBC mixed preliminary plat and construction plan development order for the additional 360 days.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. The next item on our agenda, number 5, the applicant Lennar LLC is seeking final plat approval for Rivington Phase 3, which consists of 221 lots for single-family detached dwelling units.
Once again, Stephen Bapp, Growth Management Director. I will present this case. The request before you was for the approval of the final plat for the Rivington Phase 3. To familiarize yourself with what part of Rivington this is, it is the western part of the Rivington, which abuts our Alexander Island and the south of Fort Florida Road. So this will be the last phase of that western main portion of the Rivington subdivision. Timeline, once again, in 2018, we approved the ordinance for the master development. In 2022, the Development Review Committee conditionally approved their pre-plat and construction plans for Rivington Phase 3. A development order was issued by the city manager, and now the Development Review Committee reviewed the final plat, which is the last part of the process, and we did recommend approval to the City Council for the final plat portion of this project. Looking at the requirements, it meets all the requirements of our Land Development Code, the Florida statutes, and our comprehensive plan. The city surveyor has confirmed and sealed the plat, and on March 19th, 2024 was the actual date of the recommendation from the Development Review Committee. All the staff comments were addressed, and now it is before you for a vote. Due to the facts it meets all our requirements, staff recommends the City Council approve the final plat for Rivington Phase 3. Once it's implemented, or if you do approve the final plat, it will be recorded with the Volusia County Clerk of Courts, and then the lots will become a sellable commodity. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, is there any public participation?
No, ma'am, there is not.
All right. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
No questions.
And I have no questions. This is a development that we have looked at many times over the years. And this is the platting for a planned phase that we were aware of. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for Rivington Phase 3, subject to the conditions on the application. Do I have to read all those?
Second.
No.
Second.
Okay. Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Item 6 on our agenda is the request by the city manager to have the City Council approve the Fort Florida Road Reconstruction and Funding Agreement between the City of DeBary and H.R. Rivington LLC.
Thank you, Mayor. We've been working on this Fort Florida Road reconstruction for quite some time, and here we are. Just to give you a little history, the council did approve the mobility and park and recreation impact fee agreement back in September of 2021 with Rivington. The agreement requires Rivington to reconstruct Fort Florida Road from Barwick to the railroad track, which includes a 10-foot trail on the south side of the road. Rivington is the project manager with city oversight. A certificate program was identified in the agreement for the mobility fees and the park impact fees. I'll explain that here in a little bit. Reconstruction to be coordinated with Rivington Phase 4 project. As you can see, as you drive through there, you see the construction in Phase 4 going. The city budgeted the 2023-2024 budgeted $2.5 million. The sources obviously were general fund, franchise fees, ARPA, gas tax, and mobility fees. So it was a number of different sources to get it up to $2.5 million. Rivington went out for bid. They got numerous bids. Rivington's best bid was Eden Site Development for $3,418,202.34, which is a little higher than we anticipated. But as everything is going along these days, everything's a little higher than anticipated. So basically, based upon the master development agreement and the amendment of the master development agreement, the mobility fees and funds to pay for this particular road are allocated based upon this map. The green area that you see there is Rivington's responsibility. That's the turning lanes into that subdivision. They are responsible for when the road is reconstructed to pay for that particular portion. The areas in red are what are eligible, which are right in front of Rivington Phase 4, are eligible for mobility fees reimbursement. And the area in blue, which goes from this particular project all the way to the railroad tracks, as you see on the right, that's the city's portion. That's what the city's responsible for. When we approved this development, our vision was to reconstruct this entire stretch for all the development there. So this is the money part. Again, it's what we did is that at the $3.4 million, the red obviously correlates with the map. These are the mobility fees reimbursements. To cover the additional costs, we agreed to accelerate the mobility fees for mobility fee credits for Phase 3 of $457,000. Those will be collected from the residents. Also, mobility fee credits for Phase 4 are part of the master development agreement that the council approved. That's $324,000 for the mobility credits for Phase 4 and $106,000, I'm rounding, for the park and recreation impact fee credits. In doing so, we are going to issue certificates that have been approved in the development master agreement and the amendment. These certificates will be delivered to Rivington for $888,026.12. Rivington will be responsible for taking those certificates, either floating the money or selling them to their builder to recoup their particular money. And they will be paying that $888,000 towards the cost of the road. In addition, in green, they're responsible for the turning lane, which is $180,614.34. So ultimately, as you look to the right there on the bottom, the developer will pay with credits and their own money $1,068,640.48. In the blue, the city's portion is $1.7 million, and also part of the mobility fees for the additional costs comes to $2,349,561.86, which gets us under budget. And for the total cost of the project, you see in the spreadsheet there is $3,418,202.34. So my recommendation, Mayor and Council, is to approve the Florida Road Reconstruction and Funding Agreement. Upon approval, the implementation, the construction to begin in June 2024. It will require total road reclosure as it will totally eliminate the base of the road. That would be built up and completely rebuilt. That should take until October 1 of 2024. We're working with the FDOT and Volusia County Sheriff's Office on a mobility maintenance of traffic plan. And we had a meeting with FDOT today, and they're working through the possible approval of working on as you go southbound, merging traffic over to the left lane, providing Volusia County Sheriff's Office the ability to close that lane to allow folks from Barwick to make a right there freely. I'm still waiting for the approval. They're looking at a number of different options to manage the traffic in that particular area, but we are going to need FDOT approval. We vigorously encourage that northern travelers from Rivington and beyond over there, if they're traveling north, is to use High Banks. And that's going to be one of our communications. Take Fort Florida Road to High Banks to 1792, make your left there at that particular location. At Barwick, you'll have to make a right. Chances are making a left-hand turn at Barwick in 1792 during rush hour is going to be extremely difficult. They'll have to make a right, go down, make a U-turn at about 4 or 5 possible areas that they can make a U-turn. But we highly recommend going down Fort Florida Road to High Banks to 1792, and then making a left to go north. And so that's one of our biggest challenges there. We'll work that out with Volusia County Sheriff's Office and FDOT to the best method possible. If by chance, as FDOT does not approve any lane closure, then we will definitely use a lot of electronic signs and signage there to guide our residents. But we don't really have any choice. We're going to have to close this section of the road. There's not a possibility of allowing traffic through there when you have to tear the entire road apart. So, Mayor and Council, I recommend approval of the Fort Florida Road Reconstruction and Funding Agreement, and we'll get this project off the ground. It is during the summertime. Most of it's during the summertime, and so that's good news. But we'll make communication with the school board as we get closer to August to make sure that the buses and everybody else understand that portion of the road is closed. So I'll take any questions that you may have.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Okay. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
Been a little while since I heard the word under budget, just slightly under budget. That's nice to hear again. Emergency services down in that area there won't be really affected too bad?
Well, the response times will be a little longer, but they'll be notified that there's going to be that road construction, and they will take the appropriate avenues to get to that particular area. They'll have to go down to Barwick and come back, and so yes, it will increase response times.
That's going to put extra pressure on High Banks.
It will, again, but it's during the summertime, so you won't have any school traffic going down there during mornings or during the afternoon, so.
No other questions, thank you.
Councilmember Papalardo?
I have no questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
This is the same portion of the road that has the bridge also, right? And so this is coinciding with the bridge?
No.
No.
Totally different.
This section of the road has 2 bridges.
not what
It's
you're
for
thinking.
the water going into FP&L and out, but those are in good condition and are not affected. We will be maybe shifting the road over to one side on these bridges to get the 10-foot trail through there. Other than that, on the surface, there's not going to be no changes to those bridges. The Fort Florida Road Bridge is way on the west side, west of Lake Conemack, and we're almost 2 years away from that
Thank
project.
you.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Well, as road closures go, this is probably the easiest one to handle. I think we need an electric sign up at Saxon saying I-4 go that way and take Saxon down and don't come down 1792 at all. That would be the way to go. But, because most of the people that stop in DeBary are not from DeBary, so we need to keep them out of DeBary for that period of time. I have no problem with it. Like I say, it's an easy closure. We can still access that way. The next one is going to be the tough one.
Yeah.
So I'm all for this. It's okay.
I would comment that I think that we need to get with the school board way ahead of the school system. And they go back in August. So we're going to have August and September, 2 months of the 4 months is going to be school. So it's, yeah, we got 2 of the months are not going to be school, but 2 months are. And I'm certain that the school system will be planning before the end of this school year how they are going to handle transportation next year. Out of courtesy, I think we ought to engage them earlier rather than later. I appreciate your meeting with FDOT and VSO on the movement of traffic. You know I have a significant concern there. I'm hopeful that FDOT will give us the authority to close the right lane so that there is turning from Barwick, because that will be all of the residents of Riviera Bella and Rivington going towards I-4 to go to work in the morning will be going that path when they normally have both Fort Florida with a light and Barwick without a light, particularly when we have an upset on I-4. The road, there's no gap in the traffic even if the light were operating at Fort Florida, which I assume it will not be on a normal schedule.
Well,
For that little bit of,
There may be an option to be able to control Fort Florida Road light.
make it longer to make a gap.
Well, if we could manually control it to where every 3 minutes or so that you shut it off, allow that gap to occur.
Yeah.
And then so.
It's just going to take a lot of hands-on monitoring to make this work. My concern with the backup at Barwick is I think it's not safe to have traffic back up on the other side of the railroad track and in front of FPL. And I can see that could easily happen on a morning when something is going on I-4, which is about 2 mornings a week anyway. We don't want a backup of traffic going across the railroad tracks and in front of FPL, I don't think. I think that's not a safe thing to do. But I appreciate the work that's being done, so we will buck up and deal with it.
Well, we've been carrying this road for quite some time.
Yeah.
The road is,
We've
been patching it and patching it
It's
and
in bad condition. It is,
Horrible.
yes. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Fort Florida Road reconstruction and funding agreement between the City of DeBary and HR Rivington LLC.
Second?
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So we are moving on to item number 7 on the agenda. The city manager is requesting the city council approve and accept the Wharton Smith LLC's guaranteed maximum price proposal for new fire station number 39.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I get started, I did provide you some documentation regarding some statistics regarding about our level of service that we have in our community. Some of the statistics that I've captured, just to kind of give you an indication of where we are as far as level of service. I did provide you the National Fire Protection Association research document. In there, they recommend certain staffing levels. They recommend, obviously, 0.84 to 0.13 firefighters per 1,000 people. And since we have about 23,000 people, that's approximately 19 firefighters to 29 firefighters, and currently we have 12. And it also, in some other reports that I've read, some of the statistics are one station with every 5 to 10 square miles. And DeBary is 25 square miles, and so you see and most of the items I've read as far as the level of service is the time to get to the site. Typically, they prefer 4 to 6 minutes. Those are critical times for fires and for emergency services, and so that's why geographically, that's why you're looking at getting stations within a specific mile from these locations. And then also another study of one fire station for every 10,000 residents is another general rule of thumb. And so you can see by those particular statistics, Chief Long also provided some documentation as well. I provided you that email as well, that letter, so that you can see that, yeah, we need additional fire station. This is going to be chances are our last one. We have, we're almost built out, and geographically, we need to get there. I-4 certainly continues to be a burden. And when you got calls out to I-4 and they're servicing I-4 or anything else, then we're calling engines from Orange City if there's another call at that same time from Orange City or Deltona or even DeLand. So and Sanford. And so it's something that we really need, and we've been working on it since 2019. As you recall, we purchased that 10 acres. And I look back at it now, it was kind of a great purchase. We brought it for $30,000 an acre, which in today's standards is, you're not going to come close to that 10 acres. And so with that, we've been working long-term on trying to get this particular project off the ground. So we did do an RFP in 2022. We did get 3 bids. They were significantly over our budget because we had budgeted about $2.5 million at that particular time. The bids came in at $5.6 million. If we had went with those, we would have had additional costs of project management and CEI. And so we decided to decline those bids, try to go through some value engineering, and went through the CMAR services contract service. We did that, started in July 2023. We awarded Wharton Smith that particular bid award, and we entered into a pre-construction contract to provide a guaranteed maximum price of, and that cost was $51,480. And the deliver was a guaranteed maximum price proposal. So they have submitted their proposal. You have in your packet there Wharton Smith's guaranteed maximum price proposal. The 2-bay is $5,300,000. I'm going to round off if you don't mind. It's a lot of numbers, plus the 8% management fee, which I relate back to the last slide, which is project management and CEI. And so the total cost for 2-bay is $5,767,140, and the 3-bay base is $5,630,000 with an 8% management fee, comes to $6,062,340. In the guaranteed maximum price, Wharton Smith identified some various cost savings. Now remember that $6,062,000 is the guaranteed maximum price. The cost savings options is the value. They did identify some areas where we can continue to cut. $162,000. Most of that is maybe a different style of metal roof that's possible. And then direct purchasing. We can purchase materials for this particular project direct, use our sales tax exemption authority to save another $60,000 to do that. So we're in process of setting up that particular process. And then there's always the ability for possible tune-up, a true-up of assumptions and revision of scope. When you get out there and some things may not be necessary, then obviously they can cut costs doing that as well. But a timeline for construction, I put 13 months here. They show August on their particular on their timeline. They show 12 months. There may be some as the next agenda item is talking about truing up our final engineering plans, getting the notice to proceed out. Might be delayed slightly, but by September 2025, we should have this particular project done. So this is the budget history. I did provide the budget history here. We started in 2023. The city putting up $1.25 million, and we saved that over a couple years before that. We did some great planning on saving some money and putting away, and then we got the state appropriation from the state of $1.25 million, and then we budgeted for the fire truck, and it takes about 18 months to get a fire truck in, and we still haven't got ours yet, even though we purchased it and paid for it in advance. We're still waiting on it. And that was $641,349. So once we got those bids and we re-advertised, we increased this 2023-24 budget to $5.15 million. We used the ARPA money for $2.5 million, and then the budget, public building impact fee of $150,000. So all in all, I guess the capital outlay totals, the building, the trucks, the furnishings, and everything else, and I'll break that out here in a minute. The city's cost about $2.8 million, and the outside appropriations is $3.75 million. Outside appropriations is at 57%. Not too bad when you're dealing with these type of capital projects. So this is the breakdown of next year's budget, what you can anticipate. And Mayor and Council, it's I would be remiss if I didn't go over these numbers with you to show you what the additional costs will be. We're essentially adding a second fire station, essentially doubling our fire services. And so our current fire services are this year are $2.3 million. I'll go over that in a minute. But we anticipate next fiscal year that will go to $2.5 million. Orange City is currently going through union discussions. I'm sure the salaries and everything, benefits, inflation and everything else will take it to $2.5 million. The additional expense for station number 39, which is the additional construction cost, that's the difference between $6,064,000 versus $5,150,000 is $964,000 for the additional construction costs. Good finance guys, since this project crosses 2 budget years, we can tap into next year's budget money to fund this particular construction. And so we can use the financing for 2 budget years. Plus, the outfitting of the new fire truck is about $300,000. You would think that $694,000 will come with everything, including the kitchen sink, but unfortunately, it doesn't come with hoses or anything else in that regard. And so, yeah, you have to outfit it. The deputy fire chief vehicle, $80,000. The furnishings for the building, $100,000. And then, based upon the contract that we approved with Orange City, is to bring these folks, these new firefighters, on board 6 months in advance, and the salary and benefits for that is $525,000. And so the total cost for additional station, for Station 39 for next fiscal year, 24-25, is $1,969,000. So totally, keeping Station 33 and then merging into Station 39, next budget year, we're going to need $4,469,000. Okay? As you can see there, that's almost $2 million more than our current. It is more than $2 million more than our current budget. So I do wanted to just to show the transition of our budget for the fire services. This current year, Station 33, our budget is $2.3 million. Again, going back to 24-25, fiscal year 24-25, you got Station 33 that we estimate at $2.5 million. You got the additional expense of I'm rounding here at $1.97 million, and the total is $4.47 million. But even when you get to fiscal year 25-26, station number 33 and station number 39 together, the personnel, the operation, the capital expense is estimated at $4.7 million. And so you will need that every single year thereafter. Okay? Some of the slides that I'm going to provide to you, obviously, we're working on next year's budget. Our budget cycle will start, as I submit the budget on July 15th, officially starts. And so some of the discussion we're fixing to have is just the financing of this particular station. In my opinion, I think we need to approve the fire station and move forward because we are deficient in our fire services. How we finance that is a discussion, and as usually we take a business approach. We do the best ability that we can. Ultimately, for the fire services, our residents are going to pay $4.7 million towards fire services. How we finance that, whether it's through ad valorem or other means, or buy it down with cash reserves or anything else, they're still going to pay $4.7 million. And so that's what's needed to provide the services that we think that our residents deserve. So just give you a little snapshot of next year's budget. This is your millage rates and the revenues that are associated with these millage rates. We estimate at 2.9247 that's going to generate $8,700,000 in ad valorem. And if we go to 3 mills, 3.1 mills, you can see the column on the right, the monies that are generated. And if we go to 3.5 mills, that will generate 1.7 million if we go to 3.5 mills. That, as I showed you before, we're going to need additional $2 million for our fire services just next year and every year after that. Some other challenges that we have that Liz and I have been talking about, and Liz is here with this presentation. We've been having a lot of discussions. The Benson Junction match, we did stack away $1 million last year for capital improvement for Benson Junction. Councilmember Sell was at TPO. The Benson Junction is $5.7 million. $4.3 million is coming from the TPO, which is a significant grant. Our portion is $1.4 million. In anticipation of that, we stuck away in our capital reserves. We assigned $1 million towards the Benson Junction project, and then we need to come up with $400,000 more this fiscal year. And then the law enforcement services, remember just law enforcement services, we had a 2-year contract. The price stayed the same for those 2 years. We have gotten the estimates for the new law enforcement services, and it's going to increase $375,000. And typically those are salary and benefits, and that $375,000 really kind of covers the last 2 years. So just want to give you all these particular numbers. So I'm going to give you some options. Again, it really shouldn't influence whether or not we approve today, but over the next 5 or 6 months as we go through the budget cycle, when we approve them moving forward with this fire station, we're going to have to choose one of these particular options or anything else we may come up with. I mean, the world is our oyster. We'll take a business approach and we'll make the best decisions as we always do. But this is a full ad valorem funding. If we do go full ad valorem funding, we're recommending that I'm going to issue a budget on July 15th of 3.5 mils. That is a significant increase, but we're providing significant amount of service increase as well, providing those the safety factors. And then, as I showed on this particular slide, is our commercial tax revenues. Some of these projects coming online will come online in just before probably fiscal year 26, 27. Your traditional cities, and I call them traditional governments, typically wait until after all the commercial gets in, and then they try to do all this infrastructure after all the commercial comes in. The costs are significantly higher because all the infrastructure is already in, and so it plays havoc. And unfortunately, some governments never ever get the infrastructure in because the costs just continue to rise so much. I always go back to Volusia County. They're $100 million behind in their road improvements. Are they going to ever catch up? I don't know. And so it's a significant piece that if you don't do your infrastructure at the time that the growth comes in, then you're always going to be chasing your tail. As no pun intended, but you're always going to be chasing your tail and trying to catch up to install the infrastructure and the services to be able to support the commercial development. And then as you can see, as the commercial development comes in, the revenues start coming in, then we'll have the ability to dwindle down our ad valorem back down. Similar to 2019, where we needed to do the Woodbound Lakes and the Valencia stormwater projects, we went to 3.5, and then we went straight back down to 2.92 because, and we were able to do that because there were no recurring costs. It was a one-time cost. We didn't have recurring costs. In this particular project, we are going to have recurring costs. You're going to pay for that station number 39. After the construction is done, you're going to be paying for the personnel and all the operational costs from here until eternity. I did provide some of the millages for all our fellow cities, and then even at 3.25, we're less than half of all the other cities in West Volusia. And so it's not going to tarnish our status as being the lowest ad valorem rate in the county. And it also still provides us a significant advantage for economic development in that a lot of folks and a lot of businesses are looking at us going, yep, I can save half my taxes if I build in DeBary. And that's a significant economic, and not because we're providing handouts to corporations. It's because we do business so well, we're able to do that, provide that for everyone who moves to DeBary, including residents. So this is full ad valorem funding. One of the thoughts, obviously, is to buy down the millage with a cash reserve. Typically, you use your cash reserves for one-time purchases. And so this is the cost, construction cost differential is a one-time purchase, $964,000. You could use some of your cash reserves to do this, to supplement the $964,000 in the next budget year. And that will buy down the ad valorem. I do show 3.4 there. Whether it's 3.4 or 3.3, depending on how it works out, it will, you can certainly use your cash reserves to buy down. I do not recommend using your cash reserves to pay for recurring charges, like for the 6-month salary and benefits for the employees or the firefighters or anything else that it's recurring. I don't recommend using cash reserves for those. But again, it's a cash. I called it a cash reserve buy down. The third option, obviously using a higher ad valorem funding, but using a direct loan to buy down. If you borrow $1 million, the best way to go is just do a direct loan. If you're doing more than that, maybe bonding. Bonding, there's a lot of heavy costs with bonding.
Yeah.
Probably $50,000 to $75,000 to bond. If you're going to bond, you probably should borrow a lot more money for those particular costs. But a direct loan is a possibility. I'll leave that option on the table. Again, we're going to be discussing this over the next 5 to 6 months. Option 4, obviously you can postpone the fire station. I do not recommend that, but it is an option. You can do what traditional governments do, is wait till all the commercial comes in and try to get your fire station in. But I have to warn you that the way construction costs are, and I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. They are continuing. They're going to continue to rise. Labor costs are continue to rise. Your fire services costs are going to continue to rise, and so it's just you're going to be facing the inevitable, try to getting it in after that. If your commercial services comes on, like Main Street, it comes on in fiscal year 26, 27, when do you pull the trigger on building the fire station? Because the fire station is going to take a year. And so you may have the commercial online, it's paying its additional property taxes, but the fire services are not there until a year later. And so just understand that timing will be of the essence in that, to make sure that you can cover one fire station with all the development planned in the TOD is not enough. And the population increase as well as the commercial volume is again, it's just simply not enough. So Mayor and Council, those are some of the financing options for next fiscal year. We'll talk about those there, but I'm recommending that we accept and approve Wharton Smith's guaranteed maximum price proposal for the 3-bay fire station. Also authorize me as the city manager to execute the construction phase contract. Our city attorney is now working on the language on that, so shortly after, if you do approve, we can be able to execute the construction phase contract. And then during the budget season, we'll take a business approach and we'll choose the best funding option or the best funding mix. It could be ad valorem and a couple of those things. So again, we're wide open, and when I'm very confident, as we always have, taken the best business approach as we move forward. I think our residents trust us in that, and our residents we have a long history of being very proficient with the finances for our residents and our organization. And Mayor, Council, I'll be glad to take any questions that you may have.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions and comments?
This is excellent. Like, it spelled everything out. I really like it. All the options. You thought everything that I was thinking about trying to do. As far as saving a life or somebody's home and all their personal possessions inside that house, I don't know if I can put a cost on that. It's priceless most of the time. Before I met my wife, our house caught on fire, the one that I live in. We had there was a dryer fire. And of course, our fire department came. This is a long time ago. And my wife had a fire extinguisher, which I recommend everybody have handy for sure. And she got a lot of the fire put out. And by the time the fire department showed up, they made sure everything was out. I think they actually drugged the dryer outside for her. And then I think they came back a week later and gave her a handful of fire alarms, which was kind of like over the top, which was excellent. So I've used their services. Our home probably wouldn't be there without our fire department. I know those folks down at Fort Florida Road and all that are going to have expectations of having somebody there quickly as their house is on fire. I see it all the time on TV when they're standing around watching their house burn down to the ground. It's horrible. There are things that I would cut costs on, but it wouldn't be a firehouse. I'm all for the firehouse. This is the cost of growth. You know, we didn't really have anything down that area there that really required to have another firehouse, but now we do, and now we have more expenses, and we're going to have to deal with that come July. So tonight, I'm happy to vote on this firehouse tonight and get this started. If you put it off another year, now it's going from $6 million to $8 million. Just nothing's coming down in price. To wait on that, you might be, I don't know when anything will come down in costs anymore. So this is something I'm actually kind of excited to see come to fruition. So it was well planned out. Been talking about Firehouse for a long time. We've put money away for Firehouse for a long time. We already bought the truck. Now we gotta, put all the stuff on it for them. It's not great for my folks that I'm friends with that are on fixed incomes, but it's something that's needed, unfortunately. So that's all.
Councilmember Papalardo?
I have one question. I have a few comments. City Manager, can you share any details about the county's requested water reservoir lease, or is that just a barter for services right now?
The county has submitted, you're talking about the 2 million gallon
Yes.
tank behind the fire station? They submitted the lease. We got some negotiations to do. But I'm not sure how much of that will be used for fire services, but it will improve pressure. And it will provide a safety net in case we have a break in the potable water lines.
I was just curious if there was any monetary consideration, or just better services.
Well, that will become in front of you, and we'll continue to negotiate those things. We are working on negotiations of them doing some infrastructure for us in exchange.
Right.
One is to obviously bring water and sewer to Alexander Island.
Right.
And also to bring potable water to Alexander Island.
Okay.
So there are some considerations that we're trying to negotiate in that lease for them to provide. And so, yeah, that's something that we'll get in there. So are they getting away scot-free? No. There are some things that we need to get done there that they are in the business of doing, and they can do them very efficiently and very effectively.
It's reassuring to see that there is some trade-off down the line that may lighten some other projects. So thank you for those details. I think we've been lucky to stretch the effectiveness of Station 33 as long as we have. If we go off of the best practices in this NFPA of 0.84 firefighters per 1,000 residents, in 2000 we broke it by 4,000 people. We had 15,000 people in DeBary in the year 2000. at a capacity of 11,000 firefighters. I don't think we had 12 firefighters back then anyway. So we've been fortunate that Station 33 has been able to serve as efficiently for as long as we have, and I think we are testing our luck at this point. I think we are deficient on fire services. I'm really glad that the 3-bay came in as close in cost to the 2-bay. I don't want to say the word overbuild, but I didn't want to underbuild, because come 2030, that's another $5.7 million because we needed 2 more bays at that point or something. So hopefully this creates a little longevity. And I believe this is, one, a life safety necessity, but it's also a great asset. It will pay for itself over time. We have the luxury of being able to pay for it without borrowing, in my opinion. I did the math. If we got a favorable rate of 3.9 APY, that's $865,000 of interest over 7 years. We're only allowed to borrow for 7 years based on the city charter. So that would increase by about 12% the cost if we try to borrow this. It's one of the great things that our finance department and our leadership at the city has done a great job situating ourselves with strong reserves to have these nice capital assets to create life safety measures that make the Barre a safe and great place to live. And that is all my comments.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson?
Thank you for giving us this breakdown and the potential impact on our budget. I would have to agree with my colleagues that safety, really, you can't put a price on it. That is one of our prime responsibilities as a city council member serving our community. And also special thanks to our fire chief, Ronnie Long, for providing these documents for us. I didn't realize that we were already behind on services. Initially, I was coming in tonight thinking that we had already pushed this down the road 1 year. Maybe we could push it down the road 1 more year, because what I'm hearing from residents is it's just been really tough, just like our government has been facing the increased prices with inflation. The residents are as well. And one of the questions I'd asked the city manager earlier was, how much is this millage rate going to end up costing our residents? We don't quite have a number for that. But just while we're here discussing things, I'd want to put it out there. The consideration, one of the things that we had discussed years ago for paying for our fire services and our expansion here was actually to do a fire service fee rather than putting it all in the ad valorem. I see a couple of heads shaking. I'm assuming I'll hear your comments here in a second. The advantage to doing the fire service fee that I see is that the residents see it committed to fire services and not just in the general ad valorem, because it kind of bothers me that our ad valorem rate is going to go up no matter what, and it's not going to come back down. Last time we did a tax rate increase for infrastructure, for our stormwater, it was for 1 year with the expectation that we were not going to have to keep it at that rate. And yet here you see that even after we get our expected commercial tax revenues, we're really not going to be able to bring our rate back down. And so even when you look at your option 4 here, where you say that, yes, if we put it off a year, you're still asking for a tax increase for this next year. So the millage increase isn't just for the fire station, but it's for some of these other projects that you're talking about.
Well, if we can, give me a minute for comment. We're becoming a mature city, and we're growing, and we're almost built out. These are some of the challenges that we face with some of the growing out. A lot of the, as we always said, a lot of the zoning and change and everything else was done a long time ago. And we've been very successful in managing down the density of a lot of these projects. A lot of cities do fire fees. They like to separate it out from ad valorem. There's a number of ways you can do them. I'll give you an example here. The county, unincorporated county, they advertise 3.39 mils for their ad valorem, but their fire fee, they do millage, is 3.84 mil. And so and even though that, and this is why I said before, regardless whether you go ad valorem, fire fee, this or that, the residents are still going to pay the same. And could they advertise and charge 7 mils? Sure they could, but they chose to say ad valorem's 3, fire fees 3.8. So ultimately, the residents are going to pay for the fire services, what I showed you at 4.7 million going forward. And whether they pay a lower ad valorem and a fire fee or a higher ad valorem and no fire fee, they're still going to pay the same amount. The checks are still going to be basically the same amount of money. And the revenues coming to the city will be basically the same. I know we talked about transparency. Our budget, there's a separate fire services fund for our budget. Everybody can see exactly what we put in there. And so, yeah, there are some there, but yeah, a lot of cities do fire fees. But you know, it's, as far as trying to get something implemented on a fire fee, Mr. Geller and I have been talking about timing. The Florida statutes, as usual, require more than, we will not be able to implement a fire fee until fiscal year 25-26. You have to pass a resolution before January 1 in order to get it on the books for the following fiscal year. And then you got a whole lot of advertising, you have a whole lot of public hearings and stuff like that. So just even separating it out from ad valorem is a difficult process. So again, that's a council decision whether or not you want to keep a lower millage and provide a fire fee. Again, that's up to you and how you want to, and I call it portray on your government there. But you can go millage, you can go flat rate, you can go by square footage, which is administrative nightmare. But you can do a number of different things as far as the fire fee is concerned and how you allocate it or fire millage. So yeah, but ultimately at the end of the day, the residents are still going to pay exactly the same amount as they paid before.
Thank you for that clarification, and I know the mayor has a comment as well. Again, though, this information telling us how important this is right now, that we really shouldn't put it off anymore. That, like, I think someone else.
Well, and just one more comment. We had this discussion with the solid waste fee as well. Every time we get these non-ad valorem assessments, we always talk about the flat rate for everyone. And, you know, it's whether you got a small house and you're on fixed income or you got a big house, they pay the same amount. Same thing with the stormwater fee as well. So it's you have to take a look at that as well, and what type of business approach that you take with that too. So we have had discussions every year. We do every year, but again, it's all depends on how you want to do it and how you want to fund it. And we'll have that discussion in the next 5 or 6 months.
Well, I'm really glad that we have the property for it, and I do think that it needs to be built. I would like to have further discussions on the whole funding. Thank you.
We will.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Okay, here I go. I cannot ignore Chief in the House, so I'll have questions for him in a minute. But I started this initiation when I got blocked by a train that blocked Barwick and Highbanks, in Fort Florida, rather. I was going to the airport, 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to get that first flight out. I got stuck. Went down Fort Florida, had to turn around, go down Barwick. Barwick, train was there, dead stop. I had to now turn all the way around and go by Highbanks, praying that when I got to Highbanks, the train was not there, because then I don't know what else to do. And I sat there and I cringed and I said to my husband, what the heck would happen if there was a fire? And the fire truck went to Fort Florida, and it went to Barwick, and it couldn't get through. Now it has to go all the way back to Highbanks. So at that time, our administration at the time and the council, I stood up there and I said, this is unacceptable, we've got to do something. I saw a piece of property for sale, it didn't quite fit, and staff at the time researched more properties and found this property. So I was thrilled that we had this property. We've owned this now 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And we've done nothing with it. And just to think the expense we would have had 5 years ago had we done it, and I know the budget and everything else. But I cannot see us not doing anything, so we have to do this. No one mentioned the school coming. School's coming down that way. It's on this side, but it's still south of the city. That's huge to me, to have a K-8 school and not have enough fire services for them. So that was one issue I had. I read your memo, Chief, on the volume. Every time we pull from Sanford, DeLand, Deltona, Orange City, they're not getting the services. So we could be on a call here in DeBarry, they get a call in Orange City, we're done. Now DeLand needs a call. We go to DeLand. There's no one here for 33. Now you've got to get someone else. It's just the vicious cycle. I'm not saying that won't happen with 39, but we have a better shot of servicing our own area between two stations. I have a strong passion for the fire department. And everyone might know that, but if you don't, I do. The call volumes are unbelievable. When I'm hearing those, when I'm reading those numbers, it blows my mind. That 800 and I don't even know what they are. They're in here. I read it somewhere. So can you come up here and tell me about the ISO ratings? Because I've been asked that question several times. And ISO is insurance, and he'll explain that. But what we have now versus not having, or what could happen.
So currently you're an ISO of 2.
Give your name and address for the record. No,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Ronnie Long, Fire Chief. It's been a while since I've been here, just kidding. So we're currently an ISO of 2, and
Okay.
the way that's graded is you're graded with Orange City together, because we're Orange City Fire Service, sorry.
And this is for
in-
insurance.
That's correct. That's
Homeowners
insurance,
insurance.
homeowners, business insurance, et cetera. So the way that works is they base you off of your response capabilities, your hydrant system that you have in the area, your response times, your staffing personnel, basically your deployment model. So they calculate all that, and they come up with a service number, or what your area should be considered for your service number. And luckily, DeBarry is graded with Orange City, is the only reason DeBarry gets a 2. If it wasn't graded together, DeBarry probably would be around the 5, 6, 7 range, which would cost your taxpayers a little bit more money. So that's how it's graded.
Who rates that?
The insurance companies.
So it's actually the insurance. So they
Yeah,
can come in and say, huh,
Yeah, it's a organization. It's a national organization. It's basically funded by the insurance companies, but
okay, how much are we spending for engine 39 without the stuff on it?
$697,000.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I know that I was here when 33 was built. I wasn't on council, but I was here. And I know that that was not done the way it should have been done. The building and
You're talking about the station.
the station.
Right.
The fire truck itself is already at its peak, is it not?
It is coming up, yes, ma'am.
Okay, because it's a 10-year life.
And running 25 square miles every day it's got a lot of miles on it.
So is it considered like a 15-year-old truck at this point because of the mileage and stuff, or is it still a 10? So it is, because I think we had talked about that a couple months ago. That's concerning to me, because now we might need an engine for 33.
We will. You will see that soon.
I just want to lose,
see
I
that
don't
in
want to
the
lose
budget
sight that we're doing 39 and ignoring 33. Guys, you guys are here, you're all 33, right? You just went on a call. I don't want to
I'm
ignore.
asking for a lot of money, but
I know,
you're asking for more.
but it's something that we have to put in the heads of everyone that says we need to be aware that we don't want to ignore 33 to build 39.
Right. And in all seriousness, again, you mentioned Engine 39 and when we paid for it and when it's going to get here, which it's being built. You can actually see pictures of it currently. And I'll send that out so you guys can look at it and watch it. They post new pictures every Friday of what it looks like. So it's actually being built. We should see the truck around the end of May, middle of June, somewhere in that time frame. So we'll keep you posted on that. The problem is when you purchase an apparatus like that, because of the backlog and everybody in the country is buying fire trucks, it takes time. So, if we purchase a vehicle in Wisconsin, it's a little over 2 years before that fire truck, you'll ever see that fire truck. We're lucky enough that we design our truck that we are able to purchase it in Bradenton. So it's actually here in Florida. So it gets here a little quicker. It gets built a little bit quicker. And it's roughly about 18 months to 20 months for trucks in Bradenton to get built. So it's a little faster.
Okay. I happened to be at an event that I was working at, and I sat there with Lake Mary Fire. They were sitting right behind me, and they're just there for the event purposes. And we're talking to them about all the stuff that we're doing in DeBarry, and they were so excited. Oh, DeBarry, yeah, we go mutual aid, blah, 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 blah. They do all that stuff, and I'm going, yeah, but, well, don't you have an old truck? I said, no. He goes, how old is your, and I said, oh my goodness, it's probably about 10 years. He goes, that's old, or getting old.
Getting old, yes.
Because they had this beautiful apparatus, and I admire those kind of things. I mean, I know they're all women, and they're, she's beautiful, and I'm admiring it, ladder and all that stuff, and I do go up on the ladder. I'm just concerned that we don't want to ignore 33 in doing this, so we want to make sure that that's in the numbers going forward. I don't know who does that. But if we order a truck for 33, what's the lead time to order and actually say, go build?
Well, that depends on how you want to do it. There's several different models of way to purchase the truck.
Okay.
What we do in Orange City is we do cash up front, so it's cheaper to purchase the vehicle. So we'll do everything cash up front. We'll pay for the fire truck up front. Still won't see it for 2
18.
years. As a matter of fact, the tower truck that we just purchased, it was a little over 2 years before we actually got that. But it's a much bigger truck, a lot more
Yeah.
technology that goes
And she
with
is
it, so
pretty.
it takes a little bit longer to build. And then the other way to do it is you can either sign a document that just says that you're committing to purchasing a truck. No money changes hands. You're just literally just signing a contract that says you will purchase a truck.
And that locks in a price?
It locks in the price, yes, ma'am.
Oh.
And what that does is it gives you basically a front row seat to the line of getting your truck built. So once your truck starts getting built, all that, then they'll start discussing how you want to. You can either finance it, you can pay for it outright, or you can do whatever. You can do it at the front of the purchase. You can do it at the end of the purchase when it comes off the assembly line. There's many different facets that you can do.
I drove by there today at 33. Kaz was out there and Bobby was out there. I didn't see 33, and it's not there.
It's out of service. It's broke down.
How often does that happen?
More than you want to know.
Okay. That's all I have.
But,
Okay.
and that's the good thing with the contract
Yeah.
that we have, so
It
the
has
has
to-
you see down there says
Yeah.
Orange City on it. It's our reserve engine.
Well, I see 68,
Now the good thing
67.
going into the future, when we get to replace engine 33, we're going to keep that for a little while. And that will become a reserve engine for DeBerry. So you'll have an engine at 39, you'll have a front run engine at 33, and you'll have a backup engine.
Backup.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Chief.
Planning, we just have to get there.
Thank you.
thank you. City Manager, I want to say thank you for the presentation, and I do think that the decision we have before us this evening is a fairly easy one. It doesn't get cheaper to wait. It doesn't cost less to wait. We have things on order. We need to bite the bullet. We have a larger population. We have either, depending who you talk to, 19 square miles, 21 square miles, or 25 square miles. But at any rate, somewhere around 20 square miles, and we have only one firehouse. And so the final decisions on how we pay for a second fire station will go on multiple times going forward. Some of these options, the city manager and I had sort of chewed through in the discussion before this council meeting, because we do run this city like a business. We do have these costs coming at us. In my opinion, it is the right thing to do, and I've heard from each of you that it is the right thing to do to maintain reasonable fire service for all our residents. This is a core responsibility. How we pay for it, I think we will discuss a number of times between now and the time that we have the budget. I know that we all flinch at 3.5, and part of my brainstorming this week was, okay, what are the other ways we could do it? However, my greatest worry is those who can't absorb increases in their cost of living. We cannot protect them all, but in reference to a fire fee, I am dead set against it because it hurts those people the worst, comparatively. And so I looked up to see, there is a resident here who falls into the description of income limited, homesteaded, home here in DeBerry that I believe the resident wants to keep forever. So I looked up their tax bill, and they have not been here for 30 years or anything. They've been here 15 years maybe. I've been here 15 years. So last year, this resident due to the fact of when they bought the property, maybe 15 years ago. Save Our Homes, which helps all of us who are homesteaded over time. This individual paid DeBerry $66 in taxes on their residence at 2.9247. This year, because of the 3% escalator in Save Our Homes, this individual at 2.9247, if we left it unchanged, would pay $70. So the first $4 is they get a lot of protection from Save Our Homes, but the 3% escalator in value from the very old value is going to kick in even if the house doesn't increase in value. It's, the 3% gets to be so big, the gap between 3% and the actual gets to be so big, it's going to be 3%. So what would this individual pay if we went to 3.5? Because this is the kind of individual I want to protect. $84. So it would be $14 more than their 2.9247. There isn't a fire fee in the world that we would implement that would be $15 for this person. This person, if it was $100 or $200 like many fire fees are, this person's going to be offside by multiples. And that's the person I want to protect. Who would pay more on the fire fee? The people with the big houses and whatnot. But here's my situation. I have one of the bigger houses here. Last year I paid DeBerry $1,309 in taxes. Now, this year it's going up $44. Why? Because I got that 3% escalator. So it's going up $44. But if this year's valuation was assessed at 3.5, my bill will be up $148 from last year. I can absorb it. $148, I can deal with that. Now for me, if it was a $200 fire fee, even I'm offsides. And as the city manager has said, dividing it out as a separate millage is just to me a shell game. If you got this millage and this millage, you add them together, they're really what you need to begin with. I think it's more straightforward. If we do it with millage, with these other options, we have reserves that are adequate enough that we can pull $1 million, the construction cost differential, from reserves. That's totally appropriate. You never want to take from reserves for recurring expenses. You never want to operate the city by digging into your bank account, your savings. Never. I will vote against it every single time. But a construction cost overage, that's a one-off. That's an investment into infrastructure. If we pull that and our reserves are 9 instead of 10, we still have 3 hurricanes debris funds sitting there. We have plenty of operating cash. That's a way, and yes, it will only knock it back, as you've seen on the chart, a decimal point. It's still going to be increased. But we need to be realistic about what this means to the people that we are trying to protect. And those who are most constrained are going to be able to absorb this, particularly if we modify it with something like what the city manager calls a buy down from reserves. Borrowing is another way to do it, but it spreads it over 7 years, and as Councilmember Papalardo has noted, the interest costs in this interest environment are going to be such that it's going to add to the cost. So is that the smart way to do it or not? And then that debt service is going to be involved in every single millage rate for 7 years. But we can't say no. It is, a bond debt was what built our existing station. We've paid it off. I'm not sure that's the right way to go, but let's be straightforward with our residents. Borrowing money is one way we can do this that would take a little bit of an edge off this year's taxes and next year's. But it's not going to make a huge difference. As you can see, I tried to pick someone on the low end and myself probably on the higher end in this city as far as taxes go. this is a manageable dollar difference. And the fire fee also would take administrative costs, setting it up, monitoring it, administering it by size of house. Was there an addition to the house? Does that put them into another category? And to me, it is a way that those who we care the most about would be paying more, and those who can afford it, like myself, it wouldn't be a very big deal one way or the other. So that is the reason for my reaction about a fire fee. I think it doesn't do what is in your heart to do, which is protect the most vulnerable. So I think that we do have, I'm going to suspect that someone can offer a motion for the item in front of us, which is, do we go forward? I would say that the third bay.
More comments.
Just a minute. The third bay is a gimme as far as I'm concerned. 300,000, we will never be able to expand it for 300,000. So I think that that's a gimme. Councilmember Sell, additional comment?
Yeah, I forgot on my packet, I think there's a typo. I don't know if it matters or not.
Okay.
It says there are 3 additional major cost factors associated with the construction of this fire station that the council must consider. Pursuant to our fire services contract with Orange City, the hiring of 8.5 additional
Right.
firefighters would be completed by February 1st.
Oh, that February 2024, that's a typo. Yeah. That is, and that's, we did go through and count back to when 6 months before the anticipated completion would be, and that is the numbers that are in the presentation before you this evening as far as the cost.
Yeah, that should be-
But good catch.
Should be February 2025.
Yeah.
And if we remove garbage, fire, and police, we could roll back to .92.
Well,
At League of Cities, we would have some bragging rights.
well, we don't have trash in our millage.
I agree
so-
with Karen, that it's
Yeah.
just a gimmick.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
So,
Mayor,
yes,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the guaranteed maximum price of $6,062,340 to build a 3-bay building for the fire station number 39 and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary construction contract documents to begin construction as soon as possible.
is there a second?
Second,
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
You guys convinced me, I'll vote yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. The next item on our agenda
Thank you.
is a staff request that the City Council approve the Neal Schaefer proposal to prepare a conform plan set for construction in the amount of $39,757.
Good evening. This is Richard Villasenor, city engineer. The purpose for this request is to provide a final construction plan set version for use during the construction and clarify contract documents. As Carmen kind of stated earlier in the last item, this project did go out to bid prior. The unfavorable results caused to withdraw that RFP process. The original design contract included a budget for bid assistance that would normally address this sort of item. In that case, that was exhausted with that prior bid effort. And so in this case, this would supplement that for this second run. Instead of a second RFP, this is where we went with the construction manager at risk model. And then just through these different bid processes, value engineering reviews, both in staff and with our new construction manager, we have identified a few other cost-cutting revisions. Plus, we were able to run it through our building department for initial review. They also generated a few additional comments. So in all, instead of having a red line plan set for construction, this would formally include all comments, revisions, and anything necessary that would provide one final set. And as you can imagine, that would definitely clarify the scope of construction. The funding for this request will be through the current fire station budget. And then the recommendation is for council to approve the Neal Schaefer proposal to prepare a conform plan set in the amount of $39,757, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement. This will be effective upon council approval, and also matching up with the current schedule that we're trying to meet. And then the attachments, of course, were the proposal itself. And any questions?
City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions on this one, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
I have no questions.
And I have none as well, so I would entertain a motion.
Take it, somebody.
Move to approve the Neil Schaefer proposal to prepare a conformed set plan for construction in the amount of $39,757 for the city manager to execute.
Second.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
And I am a yes. This moves us on to council member reports and communications. Councilmember Sell, anything to report?
As Carmen mentioned earlier, I got to attend a TOD meeting at the airport.
TOD?
TPO.
TPO, sorry.
Yeah, TOD is where we're building down the south part of the city.
And that was, I got to sit into the whole meeting. It was very interesting. Each city is very competitive. They're all scrounging for every dollar they can get. And I also got to attend the West Side Volusia County Summit at the Deltona Center. Was not very well attended. It was missing a few key people, I believe. And I know it hasn't been held in a while, but hopefully it picks up steam and we get a few more attendees in the future. That's all.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Last night I got to present Citizen Academy about municipal financial strategy. That's usually a good one. I got to throw some digs at.
He did PowerPoints.
Yeah.
PowerPoints,
Got
woo!
some new graphs, showed our
New graphs,
changes in
new
taxes.
new
It was
spreadsheets.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to have to really alter it for next year. So that was great. You know, Citizens Academy is amazing, and everyone's so engaged, and I'm glad they appreciate my really lame jokes. And then I also got to attend the DeLand Chamber State of the Region. Mayor did an incredible job. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
representing us well. You are such a rock star up there, and I just feel like we're head and shoulders above the competition.
Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, I'm super happy to see that the trail crossing sign down there on High Banks got repaired.
Yes, they were working
I
on
don't
it.
remember who put in a request for that, but it was unsightly for a while. I'm glad that's back to functioning. It's also been a while since I reminded you guys about TNR here in DeBary, and it is springtime. We are getting calls almost every day about cats and kittens, and our most recent rescue came very close here to our dais, and Mama and Kittens are doing well with a foster. She did not have a microchip. She is definitely a feral cat, not just somebody's cat that came outside. And so that happens. It could happen to anybody in any neighborhood, as we find out. So if you see a cat that is in your neighborhood, just stray wandering around, the nonprofit recently got a microchip scanner. They can go right out there to your residence, scan the cat. If it's friendly, find out who it belongs to, try to get it back home. And if it doesn't have a home, we'll get it fixed so it doesn't keep reproducing. So thank you for that.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I attended the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Valor Awards, where Shari was recognized for the Founders Award. So initiating that was an awesome, there was a shoe issue, we won't go into that. Then we also, Shari and I presented at the Team Volusia board meeting, Main Street DeBary, which everyone was in like their jaw, you have to like pick up their jaws because their jaws were like, we heard about it, but we didn't really realize how magnified it was. So that was a really good presentation. We did good with that. Everyone commented, came up to us at the end, and big companies that, you know, you think they don't recognize the city of DeBary, and they're like, I got to come down there and see this. I got, you know, so they were very into it. The State of the Region Mayor, good job.
Thank you.
I also attended the DeBary Elementary Award for the School of Excellence.
Yeah.
I got the kids riled up. I did a bunch of knock-knock jokes and things like that. They were waiting a long time for the the thing to start. So I went in there and I took over. And also the West Volusia Summit, which I agree needed to be attended by more, but it was good to get the information out there from DeBarry and hearing the woes of all the other cities in West
Yes.
Volusia. That's it for me.
Okay. I did attend the State of the Region,
I hope so.
and it was a good opportunity. Again, it is interesting, these experiences sort of build on each other. We are very fortunate in DeBarry right now. I have told some people, I think that for municipal governance, it's about as good as it gets in DeBarry right now. And we certainly had our years of dysfunction. We can't say that's, look at them, we'd never be like them. We were them. But it's recognized in each of these forums. It was, I think, apparent at the State of the Region. It was apparent at the West Volusia Summit. It is apparent at the DeBarry School of Excellence Awards, where it's obvious that we're engaged. And so it is rewarding, having been through so much in those early few years, to have things working and to feel confident that we are doing right by our residents in running the city in a business-like fashion, and that we're doing it cooperatively, where we respect each other's positions. Tonight, Councilmember Stevenson had a different viewpoint on something than I did, but it doesn't go to respect for each other or our contributions. We grapple with the issue and we talk it out and see where the best path forward is, because everyone up here wants the best for DeBarry, and that I know for certain. So it is very rewarding to be part of the city government at this particular time. City Manager.
I just got a couple things. I was the recipient of the TNR. I had a stray cat who had kittens behind my propane tanks. And and so what a phenomenal job Robin did. And we thank you all the volunteers for doing a phenomenal job. All of us should contribute more to that particular endeavor, because it was remarkable out there at 10:30 at night. But anyway, we got Mom captured, and the 3 kittens are doing well. I do want to give you an update on the pumps, because we did spend a lot of money on pumps. So pump number 1 for DeBarry Plantation has been installed, working great. Pump number 2 is on delivery, because that was how we purchased that, is let's make sure pump number 1 works before we actually buy number 2, and so that's what we did. So pump number 2 is on the way. It has been shipped. It should be installed here in the next couple of weeks. And so DeBarry Plantation pump station will be fully operational here, with top-notch pumps that both of them move about 4,000 gallons a minute. We took the liberty, because it's under my authority, pump number 2 at Quail Lake. It costs more to repair that than it is to buy a new one. So we purchased a new one, about $13,000 for Quail Lake. And so at Quail Lake now, that's been installed, and Quail Lake has now got 2 functional pumps and ready to go. And then also Keller Park, pump number 2 needed to be repaired, so that's in the process of being repaired. And in a short period of time, both of those pumps at Keller Park or Lake Charles will be fully operational. So we're getting ready for the season, and but everything so far so good with all the pump installations. Thank you for your support and on supporting those particular endeavors there. I think when hurricane season comes, our residents will appreciate our proactiveness on that.
City Attorney, anything to report?
Not tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Hearing no additional comments, we stand adjourned.
Have a happy Mother's Day, everyone.